Hi everyone, welcome to the channel Sluggers. I'm Anupam Mishra. I'll provide a more detailed introduction about myself in the channel to those of you who might be watching these sessions for the first time, any of my sessions for the first time for that matter. And right now let's jump into the error that we have at hand here, error number 26 of the series, 50 most essential grammatical errors for the XAT. And by the way, this list of 50 most essential grammatical errors have not been created. It's not just a random list of errors. There's a certain logical process that went behind creating it. I've explained the process in a particular video here that which you can access by clicking on the cue card on the top here. Okay. Okay, so error number 26. So guys, in this installment, we'll be taking up all the other, most of the other remaining cases of the correct grammatical usage of comma, okay, and which are primarily three, as you can see: independent, the cases of independent and dependent clauses, the cases of modifying phrases, and the cases of parenthetical elements. Okay, let's go through each of them one by one. The first one of independent and dependent clauses, it basically uh, says that if you have an expression that starts with a dependent clause and then ends with an independent clause, then you need to have a comma in between. Okay. However, if you have a sentence which starts with an independent clause and ends with a dependent clause, then you don't need to have a comma in between. Okay, and I'll demonstrate the same. And then obviously, I do know that we have not discussed what is dependent clause. We have discussed what is independent clause. We have not discussed what is dependent clause. We'll do that right now. Okay, so don't worry. See, let me also repeat what is an independent clause first. So an independent clause basically, guys, is essentially any part of the sentence of the expression which, if taken apart from the main sentence and checked in isolation, would still seem meaningful, right? So for example, look at this part of the sentence. It says, let me know right now, right? So if you take this part of the sentence apart from the main sentence and you like look at this in isolation, it will still make sense, right? So this is an example of an independent clause. Okay. uh, then what is a dependent clause? Well, as you might have guessed, dependent clause would be the part of the sentence which, if taken apart from the main sentence and checked in isolation, will not make as much sense, will not seem very meaningful. For example, look at this first part. It says, if you don't plan to inform him, right? If you don't plan to inform him, it seems like an incomplete, there's a sort of an incomplete sense to the sentence, right? It doesn't seem like as complete as let me know right now. Let me know right now is a very direct and a very simple sentence, very clear. If you don't plan to inform him, well, if you don't plan to inform him, so what? It seems like there's something incomplete about it, right? So that's why this is considered as a dependent clause. It is dependent on the other clause, right? So, and hence, what does the rule say? The rule says that if you start with a dependent clause and you end with an independent clause, then you need to have a comma here. This sentence does not have a comma here, so that's why it will be considered as incorrect. However, to rectify it, you might want to put, if you wanted to rectify it, you would put a comma here. Okay, so I hope the first one is correct. Now let's take the second case where the sentence might start with the independent clause and end with the dependent clause. Okay, it's the same idea that is being conveyed here. It says, let me know right now. So you have it starting with the independent clause, right? And then you let me know right now. And the next part, if you don't plan to inform him, is the dependent clause. And well, because it's this case, independent clause after dependent clause, you don't need to have a use a comma here, and hence, well, the sentence has not used a comma here, so it is correct. It is grammatically correct. Okay, so that's basically, guys, your rule of dependent and independent clauses, right? So if you recall, in the 24th installment, we discussed the rule, the usage of comma with two independent clauses, right? So anyhow, let's moving on. Next one, modifying phrases. Now, sometimes you have sentences in the format where you have some sort of subject here, and then you have some sort of extra information which is provided about the subject somewhere here. Okay, x y x y x y, labeled it as x y x y x y, and then again you have the sentence starting again. Like for example, look at this one. Alan, who was recently divorced. Now this is the extra information. There is a kind of a modifier of Alan, right? It gives more information about Alan, right? So like this sentence will you can read it without, if you don't read it, if you read it without this part, it will still make some sense. Alan has started a new venture, right? So this part here is basically just a modifying phrase, right? It's just giving more information about Alan. And whenever you have these kind of phrases, it is always important, it is always necessary, in fact, to have commas here, right? Like you'd want to have a comma between Alan and when the phrase starts, and then you'd also want to have a comma between when it ends and the next word, which in this case happens to be has, right? So the correct way of expressing the sentence would be Alan, comma, who was recently divorced, comma, has started a new venture, right? So that will be correct, but this actual sentence that was given here was incorrect. Okay, we have rectified it by putting some commas here. Okay, last element, last part, parenthetical elements. Because you must recall in the subject verb agreement, one of the subject verb agreement errors, we discussed something called the appendage rule, right? When you have a primary subject and then you have a secondary subject, you know, it's something, the sentences usually go something like this: Alan along with his brother. So it seems like you have two subjects here, and we do have two subjects here, but the first subject is considered the primary subject, and the second subject, like his brother, is considered as the secondary subject, or as the term that we had used earlier, an appendage, right? Something that is not very important, at least in the grammatical sense. Okay, so in such cases, again, it is important. Now this appendage along, in addition, along with in this case, the appendage link, the appending link also happens to be along with. You can also have other terms here, other expressions here, for example, together with, or maybe as well as, etc. In this case we have along with. But this whole part is considered as a parenthetical element. Okay, and the parenthetical, it's important that the parenthetical elements are kept between commas. So you need to have Alan, comma, along with his brother, comma, then has started a new venture, right? So that would be the correct version. Again, as even in this case, option either the sentence was incorrect, right? So out of A, B, C, and D, only B was correct. We have rectified D as well. Sorry, this is sentence D, right? And it's labeled incorrectly. One second, my bad. Right, so sentence D. So we've rectified the incorrect ones here. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Now try this by yourself on this sentence, right? Try to see if the sentence is correct or not. If the people believe in their rights, they won't bow down to the dictator, right? If you think it is correct, let me know in the comment section. If not, let me know what should be the correct version of the sentence in the comment section again. Finally, guys, my quick introduction. I'm Anupam Mishra and I'm Lucknow alumnus. I have worked in the past with organizations such as Hotstar, UNICEF, Apollo TAS, IMS, etc. I've also worked with an academy as an educator in the past, recognized by their Johnny Ive Award. And I was regarded as one of the top VRC educators that they had. These are my CAT credentials, and Sluggers is basically my endeavor to plug in all the crucial gaps that I believe there are in the test prep industry, starting with the CAT exam. Okay, now, yeah, so that's about me. Do move on to the next era. Okay.